Is the Custard TV Live. I am the editor of the website, thecustardtv.com, and I go by the name of Luke. I have for a couple of years now, and it's worked out all right. I'm joined on the podcast, as always, by my loyal yet attractive servant, Mr. Gary. Hello, Gary.
Hello, good evening, listeners.
And
don't know why I'm quite
also,
doing it in that voice, but
don't do everything in that voice. It's
I try not to do everything as if
spooky,
I'm
that.
Stephen Fry. Yeah, it was a bit, wasn't it? I'll try that. Can I try that again?
Weakness.
Yeah.
Hello, Gary.
Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody.
And we're joined by the never spooky, but always interesting, Matt.
Hello, how are we doing this evening, folks?
We're fine. How are you? So, other podcasts are, they might do their reviews of the year just gone, say, in December or early January. We here on the Custard TV podcast, we're mavericks. We were going to do it in the middle of March, and then we decided to do it now. So what we've got is we've got highlights from the year, and we're going to go through them and just discuss what we liked and what we didn't like, what we saw, what we missed. How much do you remember about the year? Let's go through it. We're going to start. Gary's been in charge of January.
Okay. Going first. And what's interesting, just as we talked about on last week's podcast, what was on in January last year compared to what's on January now is a big difference. So that's a real big thing. Okay, starting.
Dancing on Ice and things, they were still on in January, but we picked out the highlights, really, haven't we?
Yeah, we've kind of combed our way through the best stuff. We're starting with the winner of the 2012 Best Drama Programme according to the Custard TV website. Sherlock Series 2 was on in January last year. I'm assuming we all watched it.
We all watched it.
I did, yeah.
Did we all love it? Did we enjoy it more than Series 1?
I did, yeah, definitely. I thought it was not an improvement, but I think the characters were more developed this time around. The relationship between Holmes and Watson, and that last episode I thought was just tremendous, where he was on the roof and.
The last episode was not only one of my favourite episodes or things of last year, but possibly one of my favourite things I've seen on TV for 10 years or something. I've never spent 90 minutes watching a show and be so enthralled by it and not wanting it, don't want it to finish. I just loved every second of it. And, and I just didn't want it to end. I think Series 3 has got a lot to live up to. And I own the DVD of Series 2, but I keep wanting to buy it again. It was so good.
That's the strange thing. I think from that very first episode where he was in Buckingham Palace naked or something, was that the one? That was the first one, wasn't it?
The first one, yeah.
The first one. All the way
That
through
was the last one, wasn't it?
Was it the last one? No, that was the first one. The last one was
the start of the last
Fools.
one.
Yeah, the start of Series 2, that's what I mean. Wasn't that the start of Series 2? Was the femme fatale character, was the lady, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you are right.
Yeah. And then you had the classic Hound of the Baskervilles episode, and then the very classic Reichenbach Falls. I mean, we're really looking forward to this coming back, but I think this kind of put Sherlock in a different stratosphere last year, didn't it?
It's in a different league to any other and if you search thecustardtv.com, you will find that I wrote a review about the first episode of the first series and said I didn't get it, I didn't see the fascination.
Oh man, really?
No. And then I had to rewrite something for this series and say, me, I'm a complete fool. Ignore everything I put in the first review because I love it. I want to have Sherlock with me all the time. It is just genius. I was even tempted at Christmas to buy Sherlock Cluedo just to get my fix.
Just to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we'll talk later in the year a bit about the American remake Elementary, but I think it's certainly kicked off a bit of and Benedict Cumberbatch has now kind of made it to kind of like David Tennant-like level of stardom, hasn't it? That kind of anything he's in gets amazing publicity just because he's in it.
Yeah, I think as good of an actor as he is in Sherlock, it's just he's designed for that role. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want Benedict Cumberbatch.
It was very strange seeing him in the parade, wasn't it? Or Parade's End, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed
to see Benedict Cumberbatch in Good Cop or anything like he has
Line
to
of
be,
Duty, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Moving on to another programme that was heavily publicised by us and on your website, Luke, was Endeavour, the Morse prequel, starring Sean Evans, friend of the show, and this was another one that I really, really liked. I think this was on something like January 2nd, so it was very early last year.
Yeah. Well,
And,
the thing is about this, I didn't like Morse, and so...
No, I got a
I
bit fed up
watched-
with Morse at the end. It was a bit repetitive.
I watched this because it was just something new. I wanted to see how they did it, and it was just... Can I use the phrase charming?
Yeah,
On the
definitely.
podcast? It was just really charming, really well done. I love the nostalgia of it. I think as I'm getting older, I'm appreciating television nostalgia a bit more, and I like the background of characters and things. And again, I think if you go back and you listen, if you've got a spare week and you listen to every podcast we've ever done, Sean Evans is sort of brought out like a blooming... I don't know.
Sean
like
Evans and Sheridan Smith pretty much feature in every podcast.
Yeah, he's
so
there in everything. But he's just brilliant in this, and it was just so well done. I'm not a fan of Morse, not a fan of Lewis either. I've not watched any of this series. Endeavour, I am so looking forward to coming back. And as ITV rebranded on Monday, their new
The ITV.
to ITV, very clever rebrand.
they got the one.
Yeah, they dropped one literally.
They dropped one. Oh, they should have so done that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ITV. We dropped one. That could have been an Anton Deck line easily.
Couldn't it? But they have just released a trailer which includes Endeavour, so we know that's on its way in the not-so-distant future. And if the pilot was anything to go by, I'm really looking forward to it. Matt, what did you think of
I was
Endeavour?
going to say, Matt, was this in your on your radar?
I watched it, but to be fair, I can't really remember it. I know it had something to do with the
It had Sean
crosswords.
Evans in. It had Sean Evans in.
I remember liking
Narrow it
Roger
down
Lamb,
for him.
wasn't he? As the sort of
Yeah, he was
boss.
the
I thought
he was
good.
he was the new detective or the new bunch of detectives, and he was finding it hard to kind of stand out from the crowd, and he followed this one particular case that everyone said there was nothing in, and the sergeant was very heavily involved.
I think I enjoyed it, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you two seem to have done. So it's not
And
one
it's
that's stuck
possible
with
that-
me as Sherlock has, sort of thing.
It's possible that I'm remembering it well because there was only one of it. I mean, that's the one thing that I did think, is that I really hope they don't do like a series of 10 or 12, that they just do 3
gonna do
specials a year
3,
or
I
something.
believe.
Yeah, that's
3.
perfect. That's fine for Endeavour, I think. Because, again, it is a rehashing of another story, you know. And the only thing I didn't like about it, and a lot of people said this at the time, right at the end, he sat in the Morris, in the, you know, the, was it the Jaguar or whatever is the car he has? And he looked at the Jaguar, and he looked in the rearview mirror, and they flashed up a picture of John Thor. So
I
that
didn't
you
mind
knew...
that. I thought it was a
No,
nice touch.
I thought it was unnecessary and a bit sentimentalist, but it made it feel as if it was a one-off rather than something that they were going to do more of. To me.
Well, also in January, it was put back a lot, this drama. But
Yes.
what's the next one on the list, Gary?
It's just suddenly remembered that you're not hosting January there, did you, Luke?
Calm yourself. Calm yourself.
I'm excited to
Listeners
talk.
to the podcast will know that we often have to muzzle Luke.
It's the first time I've spoken to you in a week. I'm just
I know.
so excitable.
The next was one that unfortunately I didn't get around to seeing, Public Enemies, that was on BBC One. This was the one with Anna Friel, I believe. Is that right?
With who?
Anna Friel, wasn't it? Wasn't she in this?
Anna Friel,
Friel and Daniel Mays, who
Yes.
went on later in the year to become Ronnie Biggs. Did you not see it because it passed you by, or because it didn't interest you?
I think the subject matter interests me. I just think again it was on very early, and early in the year, and there was just a lot going on.
It was on.
Yeah, but it passed me by. But it was about a social worker dealing with a convicted criminal coming out of prison.
Yeah.
It was, and Matt and I have both said that we enjoyed this.
I'll say what I enjoyed was the themes of this guy coming back, and he was a murderer who'd allegedly reformed, and I like that, and I like the relationship between him and the social worker. But then, like, it turned into like a romance in the second half of the series, and I didn't like that, and I didn't like the reveal at the end, like the big, this is what happened.
So
Yeah.
Matt and I enjoyed
the
it.
end. The ending.
Good.
But I really enjoyed the performances from especially Daniel Mays. I thought it was a good drama, but just the ending I think let it down a little bit.
But the ending was a little bit rushed. It was.
Yeah, it was as well, yeah.
I won't give it away because some people won't have seen it, and those people will enjoy it But the performances are great. The writing was really believable. Everything about it was really believable. And anyone who knows this podcast will know if I'm watching a drama, I like it to have a level of believability, and that certainly did. But yeah, it's just the ending let it down slightly. But it was still a highlight of January.
I think we can definitely say BBC One probably produced the more solid dramas in 2012. Public Enemies was the start of it.
They put a load of money into drama, the BBC, over the last couple of years?
But I think ITV did actually try this year, certainly in the autumn.
Yeah. But I think if you look down this list, there wasn't really anything on ITV outside of Endeavour until a lot later in the year. I mean, I'm looking down the list. I'm looking at last weekend in August between now and January. It's slim pickings.
It's going to be the same. It's
going
to be the same this year, the way they're going as well.
Yeah.
Moving us on, because we've got quite a lot to go through, there's 2 Sky One programmes, and again, I think you can definitely say that Sky One improved an awful lot this year, drama and comedy-wise. Comedy-wise, it launched Stella, a Welsh comedy show written and directed and starring Ruth Jones, her of Gavin and Stacey. Season 2 has just started on Sky One. I've not got into this. I did watch the premiere and thought, not enough laughs for me. It was a kind of a very gentle comedy. Either of you two see any of this?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's quite a warm show, and I really like the Undertaker played by Elizabeth Barrington and her husband. I think they're probably the funniest characters. I think if you get into the characters, you have to maybe watch a couple, but it's
more of a character comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
more
not much, I would say
kind
comedy drama rather than straight comedy.
Yeah. It's certainly not a slapstick or anything like that, or a gag show. It's kind of, as you say, it's about the characters. There's a lot of those type of shows throughout the year, isn't there? There's been more of an interest in that kind of like.
I'm going to use the word charming again for Stella, though. I think it's really warm.
I think it is.
It's really sweet. Ruth Jones is known for Gavin and Stacey, but she's a brilliant writer. She writes She writes decent characters.
Sky One did. A lot of their new dramas and comedies were based around like characters and very charming. You know, they weren't they?
I mean, let's be honest. 5 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, would we be talking about a program that was on Sky One?
No.
You know,
they've really improved their own drama or comedy that they're making.
And they believe in Stella. They've already commissioned the second series is on as.
It wasn't a hit. It wasn't a hit, but it was good to see that it got a second series, a chance for those characters to expand. How many times do you see a program?
Second series, but much like Stella, we're getting a third as well in February.
It's quite good. We'll talk very briefly about Borgen. We're big fans of Borgen on this podcast.
Yeah.
And again, the second series is on now on BBC 4. But Series 1 was a revelation, a follow-up, not a follow-up, but a continuation of this love affair with Danish drama on BBC 4, following on from The Killing, and we'll talk about The Bridge later in the year. It's a political drama. It's not for everybody, but I would say those that love it are sort of very dedicated to it. It has a big Twitter following on a Saturday night when it's on, I would say. It trends every week.
We talked about it a bit last week, didn't we? Because the new series has just started. And I'd say I'm hooked again. I think it is one of the best dramas. I think, as you said, Denmark, Danish TV rarely puts a step wrong at the moment. Or certainly the ones we get over here, so...
Do you think you two have become more interested in TV over the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Over the last 3 or 4 years since I've been writing about it, I think, definitely.
And I would say that certainly I had an interest in American television, and my interest has changed a little bit over the last few years.
Is that because you're doing this, or because the quality of British television has gone up?
I think both. I think my eyes have been opened to a little bit more through either this podcast or other projects that I was doing at the time. And B, I think British television has stepped up. I think Americans 5 years ago, House 24, Grey's Anatomy was just kicking everything Britain had. And it's
the fact that we have a list that is this long, that's from January to December, that we had to sort of whittle down, is surely a sign that TV is really strong at the moment, and hopefully will continue.
two more minor shows that we'll just mention very briefly. An American legal program called Suits. It's described as a buddy legal drama, but don't let that put you off. Again, the second series is coming back in about late January, early February on Dave.
It might
And
even
again,
get on in a week. Or
it
something
might,
like
yeah,
that.
indeed.
I'll tell
And
you
actually,
on that
I
one.
would say Dave is one of the channels to watch. It's certainly been putting a lot of money. You know, it's not only just about buying in American shows. It's remade Red Dwarf. It's remaking that suite of channels is even remaking Yes Prime Minister. And they're making some of their own stuff. So I think that network and the third series of Whitechapel.
Suits.
Thank you.
I'll just say that.
And a quick mention for the third series of Whitechapel, starring Rupert Penry-Jones. Loved it. I haven't watched any of Whitechapel, but I do have all three series on DVD, and it is one I'm planning to watch. And everything I've heard said this is something I'll like.
You'll love it. And the thing is about Whitechapel is it's mad. It knows it's mad. It's mad but completely addictive. I don't quite know anything else like it. Other shows you might brush off and go, that's just ridiculous. But there's something about Whitechapel. I don't know whether it's Phil Davis and Rupert Penry-Jones together, but it just really is really well done. The first episode of Series 3, which I love so much and remember so vividly, was Rupert Penry-Jones and Sean Evans together, and they would come together a further two more times on screen.
Yeah, again another partnership that certainly carried on throughout the year. Very briefly, we'll talk about Call the Midwife, the phenomenon that was Call the Midwife that culminated in a Christmas special over the recent festive period.
BBC's biggest drama hit in years, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, certainly the BBC's answer to Downton Abbey. Really, it was a counterpunch to Downton Abbey's dominance.
I don't think they thought it was as big as it was as well, because it didn't get a lot of publicity when it first started. And, they put it on about 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. Yeah. And it just sort of went massive. I think it started when Sherlock was still on. I think it sort of... So there may have been the lead-in for that.
I think. Yeah, I think it was around
that
time.
I think maybe it's for people who didn't want to watch Dancing on Ice. And it just spiralled, and it almost like a word-of-mouth hit. Because the lead characters as well, the lead actors, aren't that known. I know Miranda came into it. But the main actress, I don't
Jenny Agutter? Do you mind?
Not Jenny Agutter, no.
Okay.
The girl, the main girl.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Jenny Agutter, all the sort of Jenny Agutter, Pam Ferris, all those actresses are sort of supporting.
They're almost doing the Dame Maggie Smith part, aren't they? That kind of spot role that people realise, I suppose. I suppose the thing is that, Jenny Agutter featured more prominently in the recent Christmas special, but as you say, she probably wasn't in the series that much. Is it fair to say
It always amazes me what are hits, because I wouldn't have thought that would be a massive hit, just like I wouldn't think Mrs. Brown's Boys would be such a massive hit. So, as we've been watching TV for all these years and talking about it and critiquing it and saying what's good and what's bad, and yet sometimes something like Call the Midwife comes out that you think, well, that'll find an audience, but it won't go huge. And it's actually recently, because it's coming back on Sunday for Series 2, it was on the news that it has helped boost the interest in young midwives being... I mean, that's just mad that a show set in 1956 has found this huge...
Surely One Born Every Minute helps with that as well, surely.
Yeah. I think there were definitely trends in 2012, and one of them is the period... Whether it's period drama or whether it's, setting things in the 50s, that was certainly, and Call the Midwife and Endeavour really as well, certainly set the mark for the rest of the year. There's a number of dramas
and also Birdsong, which is the last one in January, which was set during the First World War. I believe Joseph Moore was in this and Eddie Redmayne. It was the adaptation of a book that I really enjoyed, but I don't think the BBC handled it very well. The World War One scenes were fairly spectacular, but I was a little underwhelmed. So,
if Matt's underwhelmed,
I didn't see
no
that,
point even talking about it. No point.
Let's move on to February. January, we can agree, was a bit of a bumper month. So let's move on to February, and I'm handing the physical baton over to Matt.
Oh, okay. February now, and two big dramas for BBC One. Starting with Inside Men, which was a sort of thriller set around a heist. And it had a cracking cast, Stephen McIntosh. Cracking.
Yeah.
Cracking, I tell you.
Yeah, safe cracking.
Yeah.
Well done.
And Ashley Walters and Warren Brown, who features quite a lot during the year.
Yeah.
And
Warren Brown was brilliant in this.
And it sort of took you from the robbery it started with, and it sort of completely took you in, and then you went back in time to see, how the robbery was planned, who was involved, and each time you got a little bit of the story, and I thought that was fantastic.
How do you two feel about shows that flash back and forward like that? Because it's always a bit of a pet hate of mine. I know it works in some cases.
I thought it really worked with Inside Men, because you got you saw the change of the characters, and your perception of them in the present changed in the past, but I agree with you to some extent. There are some that, quite annoying.
It has to be done right. In other words, it has to be part of the plot. You can't just go, let's have a flashback here. But I think Matt is absolutely right. With regards to character progression, I think it helped show how they ended up getting to doing what they did.
I loved it. Good cast, cracking cast, as Matt says. But again, much in the realm of Public Enemies, the ending let it down for me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
I think that was the right ending.
I also learnt watching Inside Men that Julie Walters is not mum to Ashley Walters, which I'd thought for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day.
I thought she was bound to have given birth to at least one of the So Solid crew, but it didn't seem to have happened.
I think So Solid Vampire was hers, I think.
Also, just a quick mention, I don't know how many of you spotted this on Inside Men, it was a good year for actress Nicola Walker, who went on later in Last Tango in Halifax, and her mother's son. She was in a ton of stuff. And Inside Men, she was brilliant in. I love there's a lot of tense moments in Inside Men as well, wasn't there, which were really well done.
I think all those characters, they got themselves, you got the feel of the characters, especially the Stephen McIntosh character, who's sort of like this everyman. Yeah. He was so good, I thought, this everyman who was put upon for so long, and he's finally sort of decided to get one back against the people who'd been sort of putting him down.
And also Warren Brown was in it.
Well, I was just going to say, Warren Brown was brilliant at this. Before this, Warren Brown was known to me as, the sort of the sidekick in Luther. And during the 2012, he totally took on different roles. Inside Men and later in the year, Good Cop, totally different to his role in Luther, and he was brilliant in both.
Also, BBC One on February, different drama to Inside Man, sort of more of a female-orientated drama, Prisoners' Wives, which starred, among others, I think Jonas Armstrong.
Yes, Hollyoaks star Emma
Rigby. Yeah. Pippa Haywood, Mrs. Brittas.
She is brilliant.
She was. I mean, I didn't see every one of these, but from what I saw, I thought she was very good.
She was brilliant. I actually met her in November on set of Series 2 of Prisoners.
I'm sorry, and you accused me of name dropping last week.
Well, no. Well,
I need a clang sound whenever Luke drops a name.
I met Pippa and the rest of the girls at Prisoners' Wives. The thing is, the actors themselves said the problem with Prisoners' Wives, the reason it didn't get the attention it was deserving of, the name put a lot of people off. They were picturing footballers' wives and all that sort of thing. It is so much better than that. I just bought the DVD from the soon-to-be disappearing HMV. I loved it. Again, it was gritty at times. It was sweet and charming at times. It was believable. It was good to see a female-led character-driven piece that wasn't talking about sex and all the rest of it all the time. It was just really well done, and I'm looking forward to Series 2.
I mean, I think we've got a lot of strong female-based dramas throughout, or comedies and dramas throughout the year, like you're talking about Stella, and there are some more coming on later on. I think that was another trend, maybe you could say, that came throughout 2012. Also, a couple of American series. First one that I only watched the first episode of. I don't know if either of you saw much of Grimm. Maybe Gary, did you?
Yeah, I watched a bit more of that. If you're a fan of Angel or Buffy, this is right up your alley. It's kind of like a CSI for kind of like fairy tales and horror stories. It's brilliant. And second series about halfway through on Watch at the moment. Running concurrently with what's the schedule in America, and I really like it, and I've got the whole of Series 1 on DVD to watch. I've watched about 13, 14 of them. I will. I've watched about 13, 14, so it's definitely something on my radar.
And Matt, how come you only got one episode?
I didn't think much of it. It just didn't do much for me. I thought I didn't like the sort of crossover with the fairy tales. I don't think that worked as much. and I didn't like the gimmick of it. I think that was it. I think it was a normal police thing, and it did this gimmick, and I didn't think it worked. That was
The first episode is not great, but I think once you watch the second, third, and fourth, I mean, the one thing that a friend of mine who watched this said is he knew where the whole series was going after watching 2 episodes, but not in a bad way. In a way like, I want to watch it, I'm just comfortable. It was comfortable television. It wasn't going to totally shock and surprise you, but it was going to be good quality stuff.
Also, and this was a big one, and I mean, Homeland, which became like almost the phenomenon of the year, I think, in terms of American TV at least. It got big, certainly on this side of the Atlantic, because Channel 4, I mean, generally, like the main channels, they don't do well with, US imports. It's usually on Sky that you get a lot of them, and like FX and places like that, but Homeland just took off and did really good.
Statistic about it was the first US drama in prime time on Channel 4 for some ridiculous amount of years.
Yeah, I mean,
since Desperate
I remember
Housewives.
they put like The Event on. I remember that, but they often just sort of drift, don't they? No, The Event originally was on like 9 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah, but they moved it off because it went for the normal mid. The difference with Homeland is it's not on a major American network. It's on Showtime in America, which is equivalent to HBO and a bit like maybe BBC 4 or ITV2.
Well, no, it's not really, because you have to pay Showtime.
Yeah, okay, so I suppose it's more like an... But the channels over here like that. Yeah, maybe, but Sky Atlantic don't do an awful lot of original programming. They buy us from America. So and the main thing is it's only 13 episodes. There's no break, so therefore Channel 4 can show it in one consistent long run. And I just think it's a quality series. I mean, it won numerous Golden Globes recently, which sort of backs up how good it is. It has the seal of approval from the president. What more can you ask for? He apparently watches it every week.
Yeah, but
I'd rather he was running the world. But
so I'm really...
fair enough, yeah. He was also a big fan of Citizen Khan, so yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know where he stands, I really don't.
And Geordie Shore.
The Valley.
But yeah, just generally, I mean, it was a cracking, I'm using that a lot tonight. It was... the first episode, rather than like a lot we've talked about recently, where you said the first episode didn't really do a lot, but it went on. The second episode sort of drew you in. Homeland drew you in straight away. You had so many things to work on. Her sort of mental health issues. Was he a terrorist or was it in her mind? And I think it set it up perfectly throughout the 13 episodes. Okay.
Yeah. I just want to say quickly, and I know we talked about this before, was Series 2 bad because Series 1 had been so good, or was Series 2 bad because the writing wasn't as strong?
I'll tell you why. There wasn't long enough gap. Series 1 was on in February. Series 2 started, I think, in like October or November. They should have left it a bit longer.
Well, that's only in the UK, though, isn't it?
But I think it's only the UK where there was the backlash about it's not as good as Series 1. I don't think the ratings in America ever dropped off. From what I read.
And quickly on February, I'll just mention this. I don't think either of you saw this. Did you? Crickle were great. Peter Capaldi.
How can you just assume something like that?
Have you seen it?
I reckon he's made it up.
No, I never saw it.
Which was sort of a faux documentary about a British film studio, Cricklewood, which I suppose was a bit like Ealing Studio, and it had Peter Capaldi sort of playing a version of himself, narrated this documentary, and it had parodies of the Carry On films and Hammer Horror, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit of a different comedy, and I think it was nominated for a BAFTA as well. So.
It was, yeah, and I think the reason I didn't see it is because I stupidly misunderstood what it was. Just going briefly into March, there's so much in March that we might have to split it up. Let's just do the American things. Get that's all out of the way.
They're going to be very quick. I can get them out of the way
Alcatraz.
Quickly. Big hype. J.J. Abrams. It was about prisoners time travelling into the future from an Alcatraz. It looked great in preview,
sort of
but it wasn't. And yeah, it was cancelled.
Maybe they could have done prisoners' wives as well, transporting.
Well, yeah, indeed.
Touch.
Keith Sutherland, written by the same guy that wrote Heroes, Tim Kring. A second series is coming up in the new year, both here in America and over here. It's about an autistic kid who can connect numbers into predicting the future. Better than it sounds. Haven't really progressed past episode 2.
go. Is it possible to just slap a country? You can't do
Yeah,
that.
sometimes.
And Dexter as well.
I'm a big fan of Dexter. I don't know whether either of you guys are. Serial killer who works for the police as a blood spatter expert.
It's
It
a
is brilliantly
idea.
made. It's a genius. Michael C. Hall is amazing in this, and the cast again is great. Series 6 had Edward James Alamos, who played Captain something in Battlestar Galactica. I've forgotten his name in Battlestar
You're doing
Galactica.
ever so well with the
In
names.
fact, I know I was, wasn't I? And he was brilliant in this. The 7th series is going to be on sometime around June, July. If you haven't seen Dexter and you like dark comedies, and it is a comedy at times, you'll love it. Go back and get the 6th series.
March was actually a bigger year than I remember. I'm just going to.
It's a
I
bigger
think
month
there's
as
three
well.
things that we can talk about in March. Scott and Bailey, Series 2. I just love Scott and Bailey so much. Saran Jones and Leslie Sharp. Again, I said about Prisoners' Wives being female-led. This is another one that's great,
Yeah.
female-led.
And I would say Amelia Bulmore as well, who
She-
plays their boss.
Oh,
'Cause
I
she
love-
came into her own in this series, and there
Why
was an
can't she be
episode
everyone's boss on
Yeah.
every program?
with her. It was just her and Saran Jones in one episode that Leslie Sharp didn't appear in
Yeah,
series
I
2.
reckon
Then
they
if you
put
remember
it
that
out in the gap.
one.
Like, I don't
But
want to in it. Yeah.
Sorry?
I just think it's really well written. It's really funny as well, which a lot
Yeah.
of dramas you can't say that about.
And it's about them as much as it is about their work. And another thing I would say is it's very rare that you get a drama with two women of sort of separate ages who are friends. Usually they're around the same age. And it happen, it's what happens in real life, but you rarely see it on TV. If you know,
And Leslie
you know-
Sharp and Saran Jones are just fantastic actresses, and it's just if you haven't seen it, then you've done a disservice to your own brain. Series
dear.
3 is due very soon. If I had to just gloss through March, you know what we thought about The Voice. If you listen on podcasts, you'll know that we, just like everyone else in the country, big fans to start with, fed up with it at the end, just got really, really annoyed by The Voice. Can they do anything to save it in Series 2?
well, they're doing more
Yes.
spinny chair round, aren't they? But then I don't know how they can manage. Yeah, unless
They-
they
they-
do like loads of battle rounds and get rid
Well,
of them.
here's what I've heard. Number one, I think the thing that they're doing is quite right. You lengthen out the battle rounds and the other one and the first round, the chairs
spinny
one.
chair, blind audition.
And the other thing they're bringing in is apparently mentors or whatever they're called, coaches, can steal acts from other people. And that is genius, and I like that idea. All they need to do is just shorten the live shows. Only have 5 or 6 people make it through to live shows, really.
Also, what
And
they
don't
need
go
to
for
do
the.
is
And then they said it was all not going to be about sob stories, and then it was.
the crucial mistake
Oh,
they
he's
made
Amy
is that
Winehouse's best mate. Oh, she's been left by her husband. Oh, she had a kid when she was
She's
7.
bald.
She's bald. He's only got
she was
one
supposed to
leg.
be on the
but he
end
got-
tables. What's going on?
Yeah. Her house was bombed in the war, all that stuff.
The crucial mistake they made, and I appreciate that all reality shows like this have to have sub stories, but the crucial mistake they made is they didn't let the audience feel connected to anyone.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There was just too many people in the live rounds.
Yeah.
There were like 20. They started with 20, didn't they, or something?
And I think for them, the worst thing happened. The best 2 acts didn't win. There was a girl called Ruth, wasn't there? And there was a bloke whose name I forget. And they were clearly better.
Jazz.
The girl that Jazz, the lady that won it was fine. She was an okay singer, but she was not the star of the show.
You say that,
vocally
but look at
wise.
the impact she's had on the charts.
Yeah,
I
I think
love
personally
how
she's
was
responsible
it
for
the-
saving HMV, isn't she?
the Edinburgh TV Festival, didn't the head of entertainment not remember her name or something like that? The head of BBC
yeah, that's
Entertainment.
quite right.
Completely understandable. And another show.
I can't
that
now.
sort of- Leanne, but I don't know why.
Leanne, well done. 5 points,
Another
Luke.
show sort of they wanted to do better than it did. It really did. I'm not going to do all the puns again because we're better than it. Titanic. They wanted it to do well. It was just.
The puns
Sorry,
were
there's
fun.
someone
The puns were better than the actual show. Let's face it. I mean, was it Julian Fellows, the guy that wrote Downton, that actually appallingly tried to write this. And there were about, goodness knows, I think about 10 Titanic-themed shows around this time.
Yeah.
And then there was this, sort of, as you like drama series. So it was just so poor. I mean,
That
I could
was
only manage half an hour.
That was a case where the flashback didn't work, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. But it wasn't it the most expensive UK drama ever made or something like that.
Yeah.
They put so much money into this, but they did that unusual thing. Normally with TV shows, they promote it, relatively well, and then they put it on and they leave it to the audience to decide yes or no. This they had told everyone was going to be the best thing their eyes would ever see on television.
Yeah.
They had told people that this is ITV's jewel in the crown. They had told people that if you love Downton but you want more excitement,
Downton on the boat.
Yeah. If you want Downton and you want it at sea, this is for you. And what the audience said was actually, it's just terrible. You've written it wrong. We don't care. We know what the ending is, so we don't care that you're going to.
I don't quite understand why he had to sink the ship every episode.
To get the drama and the excitement.
Yeah, but there were some characters who barely got a look in as well. I'm thinking of like the couple played by Celia Imrie and Peter White, and the actress. There was the American actress who was on. She really didn't get a storyline. There was a lot of characters in there who really didn't matter and shouldn't have been there.
I mean, if you were to say to people before they'd seen it, it's written by the same writer at Downton. There are all these great actors in it. There was, as you said, Celia Imrie. There were some great people in it.
Toby Jones was written.
Absolutely, and I think the thing is that ITV really dropped the ball. Somebody wasn't paying attention to the plot and the script. They were going for the look of it and the name of it. Nobody dealt with anything script-wise. It had appalling dialogue.
An amazing, just, I don't know, they had all that time to tweak it if that could have done anything, and it just... Now, talking about reality shows like The Voice, something I actually really, really, really came to love again and found my love affair with again in March of last year as it happens, Britain's Got Talent.
A good year for them. Definitely a good year. The introduction of David Walliams was a brilliant idea and worked brilliantly. His interactions with Simon Cowell.
I thought it started off very slowly. The first new episode I really didn't get into. I thought I didn't like the humour from Walliams. Alicia Dixon didn't do anything for me. But then over time, when they started having the more fun acts, when obviously the eventual winners Ashley and Pudsey came on, oh sorry, people who didn't watch the Britain's Got Talent final.
For anyone who's time travelling and listening to this,
I'm sure that I think
people from Alcatraz that have got to see.
I'm pretty sure it got like 20 million viewers or something like that, didn't it? The Britain's Got Talent final. I think it was the most viewed TV thing outside of the Jubilee and the Olympics or something like that.
About Britain's Got Talent, the reason I loved it so much, of course, Ant and Dec were fantastic. That for me at least goes without saying. They're always brilliant. But compared to The Voice, it took itself so much less seriously. It knew it was Saturday night entertainment. It was fun. It was just a good laugh and a nice look at modern Britain. It did
something that carried into the audition stage of the X Factor. That kind of behind the scenes kind of gentle.
I was just going to say that
hidden camera style of just the actors talking to each other.
I didn't like that.
Why did you like that?
I don't know.
I quite liked it in this.
Oh, like the people talking. It just didn't work for me. I have to say, like the people talking to each other. Seeing them getting prepared. I wasn't a big fan of that. So,
you don't like to see people getting dressed?
No, not really. Unlike you two, obviously.
I have two questions that I need to ask you. Where are my keys and where are my phone?
They'll be in the last place.
Was that not the best bit of Britain's Got Talent, in my opinion?
Didn't he do better than Leanne in the charts?
He did.
I think so.
Mind you, so did the £1 Fishman. So we still don't know how that went. So I think we talked heavily about The Voice and Britain's Got Talent on our initial podcast. But in my memory, Britain's Got Talent still really, really worth.
I'm actually looking forward to the next series for that one, and I'm not on some of the others that we're going to talk about any minute now.
Now, are we going to actually, while we're on this subject, are we even going to watch? Are we going to watch The Voice? Are we going to give it the benefit of our communal doubt?
I will.
Because if they've changed it, if they've spent the time in research and said, right, we've listened to what didn't work. If they've learnt from it, I'll watch it. If they come back with the same format and it's too much Will I Am, I will give up.
But remember how annoyed we got by Jessie J and Holly. I mean, Holly Willoughby did her best, but the way she questioned them was so irritating. She put words in their mouth before they'd even said anything. Tom Jones was just there because he's Tom Jones, and Danny O'Donoghue was just happy to have a night out.
I think they should have freshened up the judging panel a little bit then.
Yeah, I mean...
No, I don't mind the judging panel. I think it was
They should have got rid of maybe Danny O'Donoghue, because he didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, Danny O'Donoghue should be replaced by, anyone.
Well,
Keith Harrison Orville would do me.
It was meant to be Will Young, I think, and Danny O'Donoghue, for some reason, got put in at the last minute.
I'd like to say... I think Will Young would be surprisingly honest.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they didn't want him on there. Maybe he was a bit too honest, I don't know. But yeah, I will watch Series 2 of The Voice.
Will they stray away, do you think, from the, let's not be too honest, let's be fun and constructive? Do you think they've learned anything? Because, take, for example, the husband and wife team.
Yeah.
The country singers, they were terrible from day one. And everyone who watched it said how terrible they were. But for some reason, the coaches on The Voice couldn't bring themselves to say
it.
But you need
they won't own up to their own mistakes. I think that was part of the problem.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think, as we said, it went on too long, and people got voice fatigue, as it were. Their voices got tired.
I'd forgotten that The Apprentice was on in March. I have to be honest.
It started in March. I think it started around the same time as The Voice did. So maybe, and the Britain's Got Talent. So maybe it was lost in the shuffle.
Would this be the one with Susan and all that sort of thing?
No. This was the most recent series with Ricky
Hmm.
Martin and
Adam.
Yeah. Oh my God,
that's the problem.
Favourite.
I don't remember anyone from it. That's because about week 7, I gave up on The Apprentice. They really need to change this format. They need to do something with it.
You need more characters, I suppose. I think maybe the new thing with this, finding a business partner is getting a different type of... I mean, apart from the one who I really liked was Adam, the sort of market trader who would just, didn't have the sort of same business savvy as everyone else and just spoke his mind. And you need people like that on The Apprentice.
I remember thinking that he got rid of, potentially fiery character.
Yeah.
Oh, Billiana.
In the first episode.
Very early.
And she would have been someone that you'd watch because you'd love to see... You'd love to hate her. You'd love to see her reaction to things. And you need people like that on The Apprentice.
As opposed to that blonde one who stayed around for about 5 weeks before she got fired.
You need people that people hate. You do need a villain. I think anybody watching Big Brother at the moment will say that Celebrity Big Brother, you hate Spidey, but you love them being on there because they're a constant villain, and the show needs it. Reality shows need heroes and villains.
Do you think this time next year we'll still be talking about reality shows? Because I'm really tiring of them.
Yes, but I think we'll be talking about different types of reality shows. I think things like Splash, where they seem to have learnt their lesson from bad weeks 1s into week 2s. I think you'll see reality shows get smarter. I think they'll react to what the public say.
Well, just to clarify before you say anything, Matt, I don't just love comedy and drama. I know it's what I harp on about. I do love a brilliantly made reality show. There just hasn't been one yet.
I think we're on sort of the end. I think this will be the last series of the X Factor, definitely this year. Yeah. I think we're in sort of the latter stages of this sort of, the big reality thing that started maybe in the year 2000 with Big Brother and like with the Pop Stars, Pop Idol. I think it's waning now. I think people know what to expect and things like that. So, I don't know. I think Britain's Got Talent because that did so well, and Strictly, but I think some will start to be phased out. That would be my...
Well, we thought we'd get to June. We hadn't even got to April. This is the first lot of the review of 2012. I've been Luke. He's been...
Gary. Oh, sorry, that was my cue to speak.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I was busy
doing... Who were you going
jingles.
for there?
Hi.
I was interested to see which one of you would answer it.
Yeah.
We're both too polite.
Yes, you're both brilliant people. If you want to reach us on Twitter, you can reach Matt here.
At Matt's TV Bites, Matt with 2 T's.
You're going to keep that, are you, the 2 T business?
I am going to keep the 2 T's.
Fair enough, I love
it. It's like my gimmick.
It is, that's the only interesting thing about you. And if you want to reach Gary, you can.
You can reach me at The Gary Show. That's at The Gary Show. No spaces or extra T's.
You can reach him by caravan.
I didn't realise we were singing, come on. You can reach Luke at...
Luke Custard TV as well. And thank you again. I do love Twitter so much, and been great supporters of the site as well. So if you want to visit the website to catch up on all the podcasts and all the reviews we've done between now and last March, you can get to thecustardtv.com. We will endeavour to get through April, May, maybe into September if we can, on the next 2012, a look at 2012. It was a good year. I'm just looking through this list. Next time we'll be talking about Ricky Gervais's new project Derek, 2 brand new Louis Theroux documentaries. Gary will be harping on about Game of Thrones, and
definitely
we get to talk about Silk and Awake again, which I'm quite interested in. And Line of Duty. Is that a voice in the background I hear?
Mine.
I like your voice. You can keep it. You know, your voice needs 2 T's. That's all it needs to make it more exciting.
I do like a tea.
Yeah. By the way, during the podcast today, I've been drinking Robinson's Fruit Shoot because